and because I don't have any need to sit by myself, and like I would be like, what, are you there? Okay, I sit next to you. I really don't want to be sitting by myself,
Hmm.
uh, you know it's more, it's also a social thing.
Oh yeah.
uh, but there is no point for comics dealers to do something like GalaxyCon or a lot of these, because or just very little reason. And so what has happened is uh, the artist alley, the creation of the artist alley artist as a career, that's something that's happened over 10 years. That is just the weirdest for my, I think my generation of commercial artists, is to see the creation of pop culture convention artist as a career. And that, what that means is it's taking the fine arts uh, mentality of going and doing art fairs and
Hmm.
traveling city to city and setting up at art fairs, and with I don't know, bunnies and kitties and duckies paintings, or whatever they do. I mean, and I don't mean to insult that at all. It's whatever, fine art for the masses, or whatever you think is worth traveling around the country. And that has been swapped for comic and pop culture conventions. And the weird factor is that instead of landscapes, it's intellectual property infringement, which is fascinating. And it's prints and original art for some, but a lot of it is prints.
Hmm.
And a lot of it, they're digital artists, so there is no original art in the sense. And what has happened is that they've outgrown the artist alley tables. So now they're getting exhibitor vendor space. So when you get to a lot of these pop culture places, that a lot of the collectible comics people have said, there's just no reason for me to be here.
Hmm.
Or they're just getting bought out by the artist alley, the traveling pop culture convention artists now set up in these exhibitor spaces, because they can get 1, 2, 3, set, and they can build this gigantic monolith ode to copyright, intellectual property theft, and sell their prints. And it's fascinating to me. And I talked to one of those guys at GalaxyCon, who was actually a pretty smart dude, in the sense that he had done everything he could to do his due diligence to like talk to Marvel lawyers, and which they said, as long as you're not horrible as an artist, and as long as you're not demeaning our characters, as long as you're clear with what you're offering, and it's not, just prints, we're okay. But the problem is that people assume that that's everything.
Hmm.
Everything has that opinion. Do you call everybody? Do you call Mike Mignola, about Hellboy? Do you call, Paramount about Star Trek? Or do you call Doctor Who people? Are you okay with this? But the weirdest thing about it is that because the industry and the art industry has gotten so hard to make a living at, this is what people are trying their best to make a living at. And they're not really working for clients. They found that, especially lower based clients are just a hassle, that there's no real effort in that, or not effort, there's no real reason to put the effort into these lower based clients, when they could just do these images and travel around the country and sell their prints. And the fascinating thing is that they do these gigantic exhibitor spaces that make people think, "Ooh, you must be somebody," but they'll never be a guest.
No.
They'll never get a job that'll or somehow break through, and somehow be now a published, or somebody that people would know by name, and and then would be like a guest at the show.
Hmm.
And so it's just weird. It's just you put on this facade of, look at me, but yet the show itself doesn't care they're not even going to promote you as a guest. It's all just it's weird. It's weird. It's weird, weird, weird. And again, it's just weird because I don't come from that generation or that, kind of a business model as a commercial artist. If for me, it was always client based and being published. It was not creating things on my own time and seeing if somebody will buy it as a print, in Nashville.
Yeah.
And then if they don't, maybe next weekend in Louisville. And if they don't, maybe next weekend in Richmond. And if they don't there, maybe next weekend in Poughkeepsie. And if they don't there, let's go to Muncie. And if they don't there, we'll be in Piqua. I mean, and it's just it's just weird, man.
It is. And you were saying that, years ago, I was at a little tiny Indianapolis Shadeland Exit show, one of the ASH shows, and there was a guy selling print, and he was literally so big that he was in the middle of the room. No one knew that the show continued past him.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we were like, there's nobody. And we're like, oh, it must be a dead show. And I get up from my booth and I walk around the corner, and the whole room is jam-packed. They ended right there with him because he had this big display. And I was like, holy crap, it sucks so bad.
It's a weird, the thought was that, you have to show off everything because people aren't going to stop and flip through like a portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to look at a small chart if they need to see the wall.
Yep.
And the wall is just turned into something that, it is what it is for those artists. And, I mean, that's the way that they're trying to make it as an artist. It's not for me, which I guess means that I shouldn't, necessarily be, poo-pooing on their parade, but it's an odd thing.
To be honest, I don't know how a lot of them guys get away with it. I mean, that's especially the ones that hell, that was one guy that was going around basically stealing people's artwork and then going and putting it in the computer and changing it slightly and then selling it as a print as his own.
Well, yeah, that's and that's going to AI. The AI imagery is creating an additional problem now, and that's going to be an interesting debacle. Because it's just adding to the madness of what you've already mentioned, which is there was a case in Michigan in Motor City in October where people I had known had bought a piece from a bunch of guys who had bought a laser cutter, like a wood cutter, laser wood cutting thing.
Yeah,
they were selling wood with images, and they were just downloading art images off the internet and just and this couple had come up and said, oh, look what we got, it's this neat Superman piece. And I was like, oh, and I saw it was from an artist that was at the show, and I was like, where'd you get that? And they're like, oh, those people down there. And I was like, yeah, because that's that guy's at the show. That guy's over there, and his name isn't even on the piece, and that's not good. No. And I actually got off, and I because I know that show, and I know that they'll shut if that guy gets upset. Those people will be escorted out of the building instantly. And so I kind of went over to these guys who had, a couple of tables. It was three guys, and I just said, "Look, man, I'm not with the show. I'm friends with the show." And I said, you have the Superman, and that artist is over there. And if that guy gets upset, because he's going to see it, because the people who bought it to show, going to go ask him to sign it. And if he so chooses for you, if he's upset, you guys are going to be escorted out. And I'm just warning you, because I know the people who own this show, and I've seen it happen. Because I had a friend of mine that had the same thing. He walked by and he saw like a pillow vendor. It was like, wait a second, that's mine. And told the show was like, all right, you're out. And the guys, I couldn't tell if the look of these guys on their faces was terror or like, who the hell are you? But either way, it was fun just to go and talk to them and say, you guys just, what the hell are you doing? But it's people buy all this technology, and that's the thing that everybody's talking about with the AI art and how it takes from other artists, and we've just gotten used to taking, because it's part of conventions now for any artist. I mean, look, it's Captain America. It is, if you're gonna be there as an artist, most times you've got these things for people to see, because like for me, it's just boring having SpongeBob and Dora, or whatever, Paw Patrol, whatever. It's just be nice to have, or zombies. It's nice to have Superman or something and that gets people's attention, especially with the likeness stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, people just gotten used to just taking and taking and taking, and be it music files or movie files or characters or whatever, or art, and it's just
Yeah.
What it does when you're an artist, when you go into these environments, is it unless somebody's really got a creative style or something, it just doesn't become inspirational. You just kind of, and that's why you go to something like Heroes Con or something that's a little bit more juried or a little different in the amount of artists, and all of a sudden you do start going, oh crap, that's the response you want to get from being in a convention full of artists. You want to go, oh shit, jeez. Ooh, I gotta maybe work a little harder here. You want to see everything, and I work from photo reference, so anytime I see another artist that works from photo reference, if they're not doing something different or better, then I mean, it doesn't, it doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's worse, then it just kind of makes me feel a little, just kind of. It doesn't make me feel better. Ha ha! You stink.
Better than you.
I'm better than you. No, it doesn't have that effect. It just has this kind of like, because I know what it is. I know it's just techniques from photos. It's not that creative of a thing. So you better be really damn good at it. Or you better be, Drew Struzan and have insane design abilities and insane technique and insane abilities and insane color sensibilities. Then you go, oh crap, gotta up the game there, buddy. So
you talk about it, man. It's like I've seen, I've been going to conventions for so long that I've seen some of these artists that their art's never changed. It's passable at best, and it's been like that for 20 years, and they're still doing shows, they're still out there pounding the pavement, and you're just like, you can't be making anything. How are you paying to be here?
Well, and for some people it's their hobby, and bless their hearts for it. Art can be,
it's all subjective.
Well, it's subjective, but also in terms of what it is to the artist,
mm-hmm.
in terms of how it, what position it fills in their life. If it's a hobby that just makes them happy when they get home from their day job, if it's, it's so many different things. And when you talk to artists, it is fascinating to find out everyone's situation, because I am a commercial artist, and my goal was to be a commercial artist and to be paid respectfully for drawing, for being a commercial artist. It was not that I wanted to draw Batman. It was not that I wanted to do my weird, comic strip. There was no, I don't want to sell out. A lot of art students, I don't want to be a sellout. I don't want to be I don't want to whore myself out to just any corporation. No, man. if it's, unless it's something really horrible, but for the most part, you want me to draw Stouffer's lasagna ads, I'll draw Stouffer's lasagna ads. I've done that. That was fun. Paycheck was great. It was drawing. It was not digging ditches.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Bless your hearts. So, but my career has been that it's all on me. My wife, my spouse was not, she's a vet tech. I pay for the insurance, but she's also mom, which is a hell of a lot harder job than me sitting drawing cartoon dogs all day. But it's all on me in terms of health insurance and paying the bills. So fun jobs. What do you do for fun? You get that question a lot. What do you do? What do you draw for fun? Fun? What the hell are you talking about? I draw, maybe I get paid to draw Batman for fun. But even then, if you do 20 of them, you're like, oh God, it gets old. I like the zombie. Oh, I bet the zombies are fun. Yeah, by the 35th card, you're just like, oh, okay, and that's enough of this. So when you meet other artists and you say, well, how are you spending all this time on these things that are, either portfolio pieces or fun, and occasionally it's the spouse has a good job. You find out weird little things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it goes. And I learned that lesson very early on when I was just going to go into freelancing. I had lunch with another artist and a good friend of mine who's also a commercial artist, and this third guy, and he was just Debbie Downer all damn lunch about being an illustrator and all the clients, and they weren't paying, and all load to these jobs, and he was refusing these jobs, and blah bitty blue. And after lunch, I called up my buddy. I was like, what the hell was that? Because I was just thinking about going into full-time freelance, which I've been doing for 23 years, 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just going into that. And it's like, what the hell is up with this Debbie Downer guy? And he's like, oh, yeah, his wife has a really good job. And so he just gets picky and just gets, he can afford to just poo-poo everything instead of just figuring it out and taking on the work. And, which is what we do. We just figure it out. And if something isn't going to work, you go and you find something else. And if it's not, your dream job, well, too bad, man. I mean, doing the 1800th drawing of swipe or no swiping is not my dream job, but affording healthcare is. So what are you gonna do?
Yep.
It's so yeah. You see a lot of these artists, and yeah, you just don't know. And it could be a hobby, or it could be that they don't make any money, and it could be that they're struggling and not making any money. It could be that they're not struggling and not making any money. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And it's because it's such a weird career. It's kind of like if you see somebody with another comic shop open, how many have you met where they're like, oh, I had a nice inheritance.
Oh yeah. I've had people like, well, I had one guy, his years upon years ago, his mom passed away, left him a big chunk of money. First thing he did is open up a store. Within, I think, 6 months, the inheritance was all burned up and the store was closed. So
we had that joke. My high school economics teacher, that was his joke, which is how do you make a small fortune? Start with a large fortune and go into business for yourself.
Yep.
And that was learned very early on. I did not start with a large fortune, thank God. I just was a workaholic who just didn't care and was happy to do whatever. Which sounds yeesh.
Now, this last time when I actually got the store to take off and do well I mean, I had stores before and stuff like that, but I always, got busy at my regular job. And so it was either came down to my actual regular, I had a paycheck every week job, or keep dumping money and spending all my time at the shop. And this last time I was able, all that went away relatively quickly. I still had a regular job, and it was just because for me, it was extra money. And that felt nice that I didn't have to worry about it. It's like, I go to work 3 nights a week. I'll make some money. That's guaranteed money. That pays rent that I don't have to worry about. Stuff like that. Um, but now I get people who come in the shop and they're all like, "Oh, well, I bet you play video games all day and read comics." I'm like, "No, it's work. I still got to work. I still got to do all this stuff." But I came into this doing the shop whole thing, being able to do it as a hobby at first, and then I slowly was making enough money. Then I was like, "Oh, well, we'll just open the shop." Then I had the shop, and then it started making more money. And then the actual hobby became a business, and then it actually somewhat went away as a hobby because, like I said, I don't play Magic anymore, and I don't get to play video games anymore. And those are two of my biggest things.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a similar for I think for artists. I mean that's just similar for self-employed or just small business owners.
Yep.
Is that's the snowball effect. For artists, if you've got, like, I had a day job at a studio, newspaper first and then studio, and then started freelancing at night. And at a certain point where it became 60, 80-hour work weeks, you've got enough saved up. Now, it's not the same as turning your hobby into your job, but it is that leap of faith that says,
Mhm.
well, you could either kill yourself and burn yourself out, or you can make this leap of faith. Now that you've seen it kind of snowball, you're at that point where you say, okay, you got to come to a choice here. You pick one or the other, because you're doing well at this second thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't fund more time into it, it's either going to die, or it's going to, it's not, you've got to figure out something. And you just make that choice and make that jump, and hope that it works out. And for most people, if you follow that kind of snowball effect, the reason why you make that jump is that you go, okay, I can see this, and I've made this extra money in this secondary kind of thing. So maybe there's some time that it can fail. And yeah, you just hope for the best and make that leap. And it's nice when it works.
Yeah, and
But
if all else fails, you can always fall back on being a sandwich artist at Subway.
yeah. I mean, you can always go work at Target, whatever. I mean, you can always go get a job. If you're thankfully somebody who is, has a reasonable ability to be able to take orders and show up. If you can show up on time every day, you're better off than a lot of human beings. I mean, which is just sadly true. If you're, but what it does do is exactly what you're saying. People go, yeah, what do you do for fun? Or what do you draw for fun? You're like, I am down here enough as it is. The 40, 60 hours a week, I do not need to be back here drawing for fun. Maybe I'll come back down here to eBay crap or whatever, or get on YouTube, or, try to do a show or something that's different. But, to do more art is not, no, I don't, I'm already doing enough, folks. And that's why, and that's the thing that I actually liked about, I think Bill had told me about comics was, is like, how the comics doing? It's like, it was great until you hit a wall. Oh, I love all these great books. And then you get to that point, you're like, I need them gone. And you're just like, and that's great. That's what I need. I need that kicking in to separate me from this need to hold on and accumulate, because I want other people to do that. Like, look, if you haven't lived your life like that, or if you still want to, that's great. But you know, a lot of people, like I said, you know, they don't always accumulate from a kid. They come back to nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know, we make a lot of money off of that. Or you know, there's a whole industry on nostalgia. Boy, I had this when I love it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had it and have it, never got rid of, you know. You know, and you're like, and now I should probably figure out how to not die with all of this, you know. But
yeah.
So yeah, the art stuff, yeah, it doesn't. I'm looking forward to getting to a point where I can try to do things that are more projects for myself and see if there's a way of selling them later. But I mean, that takes retirement in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, that takes getting to a point of where everyone, you know, my family's taken care of. And, you know, hopefully that'll come sooner than later, because I wouldn't mind, you know, there's a lot of things you see, like we talked about the movie posters stuff and things like, you know, spending a week on a piece. What the hell would that be like? You know, when I'm used to doing 3-hour, you know, portrait work pieces or something, you know, 4-hour pieces. What would a 40-hour piece look like? I don't know, because I ain't spending 40 hours on one piece, because who the hell's going to pay me for that?
Oh yeah.
You know, I'll spend 4 weeks on a book, you know, but I'm sure as heck, or what the hell would a 4-week piece look like? That's insane. You know,
that you're just taking every little square inch and making it perfect. I mean, because
who knows how, you know, you see these big people love seeing these huge elaborate pieces with, you know, every gazillion Star Wars character on it, which I don't think I'd like to do. I don't really like working large, because I like working on a table, and I don't, you know.
mm-hmm.
But even if it were digital or made up of smaller pieces, you know, yeah, it's a lot of things that you just kind of hope that you get the time for, and if not, you know, it's not like cartoon dogs is the worst thing in the world. But and every now and then, you know, a zombie or a Adam West Batman sketch for somebody, or I got my. I've been having a blast. These are some of my Hamilton collection statues that have come out over the past year, or coming out next year. I finally have gotten to do things where they've licensed my name as, like, I get royalties. Yeah, my name is on them. You know, like because usually with the products that I do, they're for licensed characters, or even if they aren't, they don't need to be licensed through me. I don't need a credit or royalty. So it's kind of cool to get products that have my name on it, and then, you know, you get the sales statements. You know, been designing products for 20 years, and you know, sales statements are hysterical, because they have how many sold in a quarter, how many were returned, and you just go, oh, that didn't do well. Oh, people did not like Dracula, or whatever. You know, it's just funny. It's these little new things on the bucket list that are exciting.
Cool.
So, yeah.
You've definitely come a long way in the amount of time that I've known you. Jeez.
I feel like I've been doing the same damn shit for, you know, past 20 years. It's just accumulated. It's been children's books and product design and zombies. Lather, rinse, repeat for 20 years.
Oh man. Well, we've been at this for almost 2 hours.
And it's been absolutely no talk about my career, which I adore. Thank you. I mean, avoid that like the plague.
But oh man, but it has been a blast talking to you. I don't get to talk to you as much as I'd like, because I don't get to the big conventions hardly at all anymore.
No, and yeah, which is, like I said, which is why it has been a lot of fun just getting out on the Sundays,
mm-hmm.
And hanging out at those, even if it's to talk to, like, you know, one of your kids, or it's to you, or whatever. They've been a lot more fun. But it's hard when you're doing the big shows. You're even when you're there, it's like, oh, you can come talk to me. Well, yeah, unless you paid to be there. If you're actually setting up there, then you're not walking around talking to me.
Yeah.
You're working the damn thing. And then I'm supposed to be working the dang thing. And, so yeah, it is hard to go be social. And it's really hard when you're at shows with other artists and things where you're like, especially when they're like your art heroes. And you're like, oh, at a certain point, you're like, yeah, I don't want to sit here. I'm going to go stand in line to meet Walt Simonson or something. There's so many better things to do with my time than sit at my table waiting for somebody to, maybe buy a John Cena elbow grease book or something.
I forgot you were doing John Cena.
Yeah, they just sent me like copies of one of his books in Spanish. Oh, it's what is this? Salgamos a jugar. I'm so sorry. I went to art school and never took a language. I'm just an idiot. So please. But yeah, no, that was weird. That was kind of cool. It was a fun job, but I don't know if it did well or not. The weirdest thing is in comics, the artists talk to writers all the time. And in the children's books that I do, I've never had a discussion with any writer in 200 books and 20 years or more. Never had any contact with any of my writers. So, I've never had any contact with John Cena. But seeing him as Peacemaker in on the TV and in the movies in his tidy whities, that's the first writer that I've ever worked with that I've seen in their underwear. That's like 200 books. Yeah, never
until now.
That's and this is where it gets really inappropriate. L. Steffens wrote One Fancy Day. No. Thankfully, Elle and I, we've never talked, and nope. But John, yes, tidy whities. That's weird. And I sit there like watching the movie Suicide with my kid, and you're just like, hey, that guy right there, yeah, that guy pays for your school. That guy paid for dinner. Paid for the gas and the lights to be on in the house. It's very, very strange. But I think that's done. I think the last book that I did for him came out this year or recently, and I think that is done. And worked on some stuff for Netflix shows, and I don't think those went too well. And they don't. And then now there's a YouTube called Go Noodle, like some sort of kids that does YouTube videos, and they're branching out into books. So that's changed. So yeah, it's gotten a little different. It's not all Nickelodeon, and even with Nick, some of their shows are on Paramount Plus, and so it's gotten a little weird as it's all gets fragmented into streaming services and YouTube and stuff, and people figuring out how to merchandise these things that are so niche based, which is a little harder for me because these smaller groups don't know what they're doing. They're new to this, so they haven't really thought through what they're doing or answered. They can't afford to have. They don't have the staff that Nickelodeon does that knows exactly what they're doing, and lather, rinse, repeat. Okay, here's our style guide, and here's everything, and we've answered all your questions, so go. And then you do something with Netflix, and they just don't have that support or that staff in place, and so you're just like, so what are we doing here? I don't know. And you're left kind of going, okay, this better be right. Because if it isn't, it's gonna cost somebody to fix it. So, but yeah, it's yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, what do we plug in? I like.
Oh yeah, we plug.
So A 50 portrait book series is on Amazon. There's 4 of them right now. It'll be a new series next year, probably new hardcover, maybe a larger collection of the past 3 years of stuff. But those are collections of the commissions that I've done of the portraits, and they're on Amazon. And then the kids' books are the kids' books. I don't think I have to plug any of those, but lately it's been, I'm working on Paw Patrol, the movie 2. That's what I'm working on now. And Go Noodle and Blue's Clues and John Cena's Elbow Grease and Camp Coral and all that fun stuff. Those are out at finer stores. And then Hamilton Collection has got some of my monster products that are coming out. More will be coming out next year, and then maybe more if they sell. But those are on the Hamilton Collection and the Bradford Exchange. And Twilight Creations, makers of our fine, loving Zombies game. Oh, Zombies. That was celebrating its 20th anniversary, but it's stuck in a factory in China. 20th anniversary would have been maybe, I don't know, getting close to 2 years ago. Whew. But there's a new expansion of that should be coming out on early next year. And there you go. I'm on Instagram, which I have the worst social media following ever. So so if anybody wants to make me feel a little better, it's all just Dave Aikins on Instagram. And I have a horrible failed YouTube show called Dave and Joe Are Bored. I think we made it till 12 episodes before I realized that
you weren't that bored.
Yeah, before I stopped getting bored. Before I stopped wanting to harass people, every week or two to be on the show. Just started feeling bad. I'm being on my show.
That's what I do on a regular basis. That's why you're here. I can't.
Yeah. So much work. But thank you. It's all right. Yeah, it's great to talk to you, man. We haven't had a chance to chat in ages, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a fun time. Like I said, it's been a minute, and it was good kind of catching up with you a little bit at the show. But we're both running tables across from each other, not near each other. So
you didn't buy anything from me, so
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did. I like watching Jesse. Jesse buys stuff from me, and then he tries to sell it, and it just loses money. I think just don't. Just Jesse, stop it. Stop it, Jesse.
He does that auction. I bought some stuff off of him and had some, and so he came in and bought some stuff off me with the credit that we shared. And cash is not transferred between our hands for these deals in I don't know how long. And he literally bought some comics off me, some signed books. And then later on, he put them up for auction, and I was like, that's $1. So I bought it back because he took it in like $5 in credit. And I'm like,
yeah. Okay. Well, that's the thing. I've started to pay a lot more attention now that, especially with the slab universe, now that I have I think I've got about 76 books that are going off. So I'm going to owe, anything that I've sold is going to go to CGC and the guy that's pressing and cleaning. And, but man, seeing people selling slab books for, $20 is just the funniest thing. I should have gotten that one. I love that Star Wars issue. Oh, I have one. Mine is probably less than a 9. And I think I have $40 on it.
Yeah.
And that guy was, I don't know, did he steal? Did a box fall off of a truck? Because he was sad.
It was the most random bunch of stuff. And I'm sitting there, I kept looking at the Star Wars one because he dropped everything else down to $20. I love
that issue. That is one of my favorite Star Wars issues.
And I'm sitting there, I look over, and he's got it sitting on the table, and no one's buying it. And it's getting towards the end of the day, and I did pretty good. And I'm like, how much you want for that? He goes, well, I was going to sell it for 20. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, do you want to do some trading? I'm like, sure. And he comes over and he picks up a couple things. And I think that what he bought, I had less than $8 in. So I'm like, hell yeah.
I love it. I tell you, and I watched my friend Michael at the Buckeye Con and his goal, he had bought 2 tables, so I commandeered one of them, and his whole goal was to leave with trades that would de-escalate the amount of space. So he had brought a lot of shelving and things that he had bought over the years, and some books and things, and he just wanted to turn all of this into like this. And it was so funny watching him hustle and go around the place and making deals and trying to turn, a stack of something into one thing. And I haven't gotten to that point yet, because I'm just in release mode. I'm just in rehome mode. I'm not in wheeling and dealing and trading. And I guess if it's and it's probably because I just don't have the knowledge of, whether or not something's a good idea or not. And also, like, my knowledge of things, I guess. And I kind of learned to say, okay, well, I mean, if it's stuff that is 80s and under, that I know about, sure. But the problem is the last thing I want is for somebody to come up with something that's like something I would want to keep, because that's not the point of any of this. Somebody comes up with like a Fawcett Captain Marvel book, and I'd just be like, oh, because I go back to memories of when I was young, when I was maybe 13 or something. I would set up at the Sunday shows. And I have 2 bad trades from when I was like that age that have haunted me, for my entire life. They live rent free, and it was a Batman Mego that I had taken out of the package, but still had the package, and that's when Children's Palace had gotten Mego figures back in the 80s. They had found some French ones.
Yep.
And I had traded Batman for a Captain Marvel Jr. comic that was worthless. Now that one, okay, I've gotten another Batman, but the worst, really, I had an Avengers #2, and I traded it for an issue of Exciting Comics with Alex Schomburg, Black Terror, Bondage, racist war cover. The cover is phenomenal. I mean, it's just, I love Alex Schomburg, but it was Avengers. No, it was a nice copy of Avengers 2, and the price difference over the decades is so, it lives there like you moron. But it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I've got a few of those.
Oh, and if you talk to people who have bought comic book art, especially older people, they live in that land of what the hell was I thinking? Like pages that they sold for, or even artists, unfortunately, pages that were sold for $20 that are now worth $20,000.
Yep.
So I just remind myself of that. Like, none of my art has, thank God nobody cares about me as an artist, so I don't have to worry about that one. There's no, oh, that sold for how, oh, really, that much? Oh, wow. No. You're taking a loss, baby.
Oh, yeah.
All righty. Well, I'll let you wrap this up, because you talked to me, and next thing you know, it's 4 a.m.
So, all right. Well, I do appreciate it. Thanks again for coming on. All that fun stuff. I will post, because you said your YouTube channel, your Instagram, and you're on Facebook too.
Yeah, kind of. It's all just art stuff.
Yep.
So
but I'll put that all there at the end and all that fun stuff. Upcoming convention appearances. Which are gonna be at.
Well, thankfully, it's the end of the year. Definitely we'll be back at Motor City Con in May. That is, I got guest contracts need to be filled out. I mean, I guess I haven't signed anything yet, but it's sitting there on the desktop. So that's probably a sure thing. And then usually at Cincinnati Comic Expo in September. And then hopefully I'll be at Heroes Con again in June. And Possibly back at Gem City if Dayton can get its act together. That's more of a city of Dayton issue than Gem City issue.
Yep.
And then, if you're around Detroit and Columbus and Ohio, you might see me at some of these Knights of Columbus or Jim and Dan or Buckeye shows, just sitting there, not drawing.
Selling your wares.
No, not mine.
No, somebody
Just
else.
things that unfortunately I've accumulated.
Yep. So, all right, man. Well, you have a good night.
Hey, you too. Happy holidays. Let's date the show. Happy holidays for you and whatever you celebrate.
Merry Christmas and all the other holidays.
All the other things that everybody celebrates.
Yep.
And let's get over to 2023. Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be better.
Because 2022 has been a weird one.
Just when I think after 2019, I thought it can't get any weirder. Then 2020 hit, and then you think it couldn't get any weirder, and then 2021.
Oh, this year is just thankfully it hasn't necessarily been an awful year. It's just a weird one. We're all still alive, so that's good.
Definitely.
All right, Daddy. Hey, thanks so much, and congratulations on all of your YouTube success. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say after doing 12, I like doing live shows just because it amuses me. But just after doing that, and you really have to put the time in, and you really have to be patient with growth. And I just know from watching, my social media just get stagnant. I just have no confidence in putting that time in, but you've done gangbusters. So congratulations on all the shows and whatnot.
Oh, thank you. It's just
persistence, man.
Yeah.
You gotta do it. You gotta put the time in, and that's not easy. When you're getting, 40 views on something and you just go, was that worth 40 people checking in?
That's what it was when I first started, and then all of a sudden you'd get a little more and a little more and a little more, and then I started a different show, and then I got more and more, and another show and got more, and it's weird because I've been invited to a convention as a guest, which I'm a guy who does a podcast and a show. It's nothing big. I've gotten sponsorships, I've gotten stuff like that, and you're just like, dude, and nothing's I've never made a penny realistically off this. All I've ever done is, the money goes away, money does not come in. So.
Well, but I think, to a certain extent, there's when you spend time on things and it reaches an audience that could maybe come over and hang out in your basement, then you kind of go, oh man, why don't you just come over and hang in my basement? When it gets to be 100, 200, 300, when it starts to get to be like an outreach, and then you kind of go, okay, well, this is different. This is at least, the monetization, whatever. But if you're reaching, at least, getting a sense that it's worth the time.
Oh, I'm looking around because I was seeing if the box was close. I had a guy send me a package full of old toys. And I'm like, he's like, what do you got? I was like, dude, they're sweet, man. I was like, these are cool ass Robotech toys from the 80s. I was like, they're in my personal collection now.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah. And he sends me a handwritten letter thanking me for the show. And I'm like,
that's a stalker. I'm just saying that right now. That guy is out. He's watching you right now. No, the guy's watching. He's like, how dare you? I did a nice thing. You did. It's lovely. Unless it was the Matchbox stuff, and those things are crap. No, I'm just kidding.
I got the Veritech hover tank, so something I never had as a kid. Now I have it.
That's awesome. I cleared out most of my Robotech's toys probably 20 years ago. Yeah, I don't know if that was a smart move or not, but they're gone. But I had a bunch of those, and they are out the door. Rats.
Making some males happy. Just think of it that way. So
hey, yeah. Oh yeah, they there was a point where they just hit a price point where you're like, I'll take the 200, or something, Yep.
I say that nothing. I say, I don't want to sell stuff, but there's always that point where somebody offers you the right amount of money. And you're like, okay, It's sold.
Oh, and oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm that is the mentality that I've got. The thing that I don't like, and again, you'll never get me off this show. I always tell people that the biggest problem with having a collection that spans, let's say the 70s to now, is that the 90s are worthless, especially. And 90s up until now. Like, there is that Batman movie dead stop where 89 seems to be almost like a point where a huge amount of toys just become worthless. And I'll go into toy stores and I'll see Hook figures and I'll see Police Academy figures, and I just go, who are you kidding? This is the stuff that Children's Palace could not give it away at 90% off. These were peg warmers, and they're still peg warmers. This is, and maybe you can get your $15, like all the Toy Biz figures that were the early Marvels, all the Playmates Next Generation Star Trek figures, all the McFarlane toys, that huge explosion in the 90s, all the Star Wars Return stuff. It is all worthless. And so when you look at your collection, you go, okay, well, let's start selling stuff. And you go, yeah, if you do that, what are you going to be left with?
Yeah,
all the 70s stuff, anything earlier, anything you picked up, because I was born in 73, anything pre-73 is, not nostalgia, it's just cool. That's, it goes, okay, 70 stuff goes, and all the cool 80 stuff goes, and I'll be sitting around with stuff that I bought when I was in college and older, mocking me, like DC Total Justice figures and Next Generation figures on the shelf, just going, you should have bought the beers instead of the toys, Dave. You should have been meeting girls in bars and having fun instead of being a weird shut-in playing with dollies. You don't even like us. Regret. And that's the problem. That's the stuff where you're just like, oh, it's this. Were you a Next Generation Star Trek? Did you ever fall prey to that collection?
No. I had a couple. I had like a Borg and a Klingon. That was it.
Oh, and I see they just came out with a new series where Playmates went back and they did a little bit better sculpts, but they're like, I don't know, $12, $15 figures. And oh my God, if somebody gave me $12 to $15 for each of my 90s, I would go through and I'd pick out the accessories. They're not mint and card, but I haven't played with them. I would just be in hog heaven if somebody was that dumb to be like, I'll take them all. No, I'll die. We're all gonna die with Worf in a cowboy outfit and whatever weird alien and the joy of collecting.
Yes.
And it's going to be like, it's the Funko Pops. I mean, they're going to.
Oh yeah, those are the Beanie Babies of this generation. Yeah.
That's what I did that in 2020. I went around, or 2021. I went around and I looked at all of the pops, and I had early DC ones and ones that were worth, even out of the box, were worth money. And I was just like, you're out of here. Red Skull, hit the road. All right, Daddy-O. Because like I said, you talk to me and you're in for way too long.
In for a ride. So
Yep.
you have a good
buddy.
night, sir. And I will talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take care.
Later.